Hi, I'm Chuck Dorsett for Weaver Leather Supply, and this is the Leather Element. If you've got a good question for us or a good idea for a leather element, drop it in the comment box below. Also, if you want to know when our videos release, just click your notifications. You'll know exactly when these come out. Well, regarding the comments below, we've gotten some requests for a video on our leather firmer. Well, first off, thanks for the request. So we're going to do a simple, even comparison. But before we do that, let's talk about what we're doing. Hardening leather is actually a centuries-old technique. It's called kerbouilli, or boiled leather. Fun point. All the recipes through the ages, none of them agree, and none of them mention actually boiling the leather. Don't hold me to that, but I think that's accurate. Now, for us costume folks, we love the armor and we want to harden that. But if you're not into the costuming, don't hang up. All kinds of great uses for hardened leather, like say a really solid holster, or the backing on a cell case, or the backing on a pouch. All kinds of ways we can go with hardened leather. Now, I've always baked my leather. Well, in my defense, it works for me. And a lot of us leather crafters are like that, right? We're not going to experiment because we know what works. Well, in this situation, in all honesty, I haven't used the leather firmer very much. We're going to change that today because what little I've done, I'm actually pretty happy with it, and I think I may change the way I do things. So let's step over to our main table, see what happens. For our comparison, I've got a couple of different weights of leather, and we're even going to try some chromes. Not going to work here, but let's see what happens. So, right here I've got two pieces of 8 to 9 ounce natural veg. I've dyed one piece, light brown pro dye, one is natural. We're going to soak these. Now I say soak. I haven't experimented with this enough to know if we need 10 seconds, 30 seconds, 2 minutes. But what we're going to do is run that through our firmer just like we were dip dyeing. Our next stack right here, we're going to paint onto the back both a dyed piece and a natural. Then we're going to put these in our form, let those sit. Right here, I've got a 4 to 5 ounce natural veg, and my absolute favorite for armor, this is our Herman Oak saddle skirting. It's a 13 to 15 ounce. And then right here on our suede, that's a typical chrome tan. We're going to paint that on. Let's see what happens. So let's start right here. I'm going to take my 8 to 9 ounce undyed, and we're going to run this through just like dip dyeing. Okay, we've let the excess drain off. Let's bend that around and drop that in our form. Now on our form, this is just a piece of wood, and I actually can bake on this. Right here, we've got a piece that's actually baked. Natural, no dye. I baked that. We've got a good video on that, so I'm not going to go into great detail on that. But let's go to our next piece, our dyed piece of natural veg, light brown pro dye. Let's do the same thing. Okay, we've got that piece. Let's curl that around, put that in our form. And over here, I'm just going to use a dauber. Yeah, I'm making a bit of a mess here, but I'm going to use a dauber just to apply to the back. Okay, we've got those two pieces done. What I'd like to do, let's come back and do a second coat. And we've got a second coat on that. Okay, let's put this on our mold. Okay, we've got that. So over to our 4 to 5 ounce. We could paint onto the back, but again, let's just run this through and let the excess drain off. So on this, how about we just make a corner? Let's put this on our marble. Press in a corner. And let's put that right there and let that dry where it is. Okay, so the Herman Oak, let's soak this, but let's do maybe 3 passes. And back through one more time. Let's get that good and soaked. Let the excess drain off. And now let's form this. And we'll put that right there, okay? Let's give everything here between 8 and 10 hours dry time. Let's step over to a chrome. Now, Not designed to work on a chrome by any means, but let's just see what happens. The suede is really soaking up the firmer, but one of the things we're doing here is I want to see if we paint this on the back, if it's going to bleed through, affect our dye color. So let's leave that right there. Now, one more good point. This is the gallon. The boss gave me this and said, have fun. But we've also got this in pints and quarts, so we don't have to go for the big gallon. All right, let's leave this right where it is for 8 hours, see what happens. We've given our pieces ample dry time. In fact, I've left these overnight so we can get the best possible comparison. So on the baked piece, as expected, that's pretty stiff. What I didn't expect, these are the two pieces that we passed through the firmer like we would dip dye. Exceptionally stiffened, far stiffer than our baked piece. Now, this is the piece that we dyed, then went through the firmer. It's going to darken our dye just a little bit. In fact, there's our light brown pro. But all told, that's a pretty color, and we've got some good hardening there. On the pieces that we painted, I would honestly say that's probably not much more stiff than we could get simply wet forming. One thing I really like here, the Hermann Oak saddle skirting, that is one hardened solid piece of leather. In fact, it doesn't even want to bend. I like that. On our 4 to 5, we've got a hardened corner and it feels like it. That's going to stay right where it is. And on the suede, yeah, not much. Didn't expect that to do anything, but that's a fail. Absolutely. One more step, because one of the things I like about baking my leather is that now I can run this through my dye, not going to affect my dye outcome. So how about with our Hermann Oak? I'm going to run this through our dye. Let's let it dry, see what happens. Our dye has had plenty of time to dry. Now, good point on the firmer and the pro dye. Let's get some good ventilation on both of those. So right here, surprised, not the word I would use. Amazed, much more accurate. The firmer did not affect our dye color at all. That's beautiful. We have got a hardened, solid, stiff piece of leather there. That's exactly what I'm looking for. Now, one last point, brittle. I worry that when I bake my leather, it's going to get brittle. How about right here? In fact, that's actually hard to bend. Well, as far as I can tell, not brittle at all. Okay, one more point, promise, last point. So when I bake my leather, what I'd like to do is everything before we dye. So I want to punch my holes, stamp, tool, edges, then bake, then dye. So with the way this works, I don't think that process is going to change. We're just going to switch out the firmer for the baking, and we've got a winning combination. For everybody that put in a request for a video on the leather firmer, one big thank you from me, and I hope this answers all our questions because I think I've had an epiphany here. So thanks for bringing that up. I'm going a different direction from here on out. I hope this is good information for you. Thanks for taking time to watch The Leather Element. Good luck with your projects.